Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Summit Feedback Loop, where mountains are climbed one step at a time and essays are written one sentence at a time. The expectations are that you watch this video, you pause the video when instructed to do so, and you complete the directions before starting the video again to move on to the next step. Now, if you get lost, you need to first rewatch the video, and then second, ask a fellow knowledgeable climber for assistance. After that, you can raise your hand and patiently wait for your instructor to approach, otherwise following classroom procedures. Let's go ahead and dive into the false summit. So the false summit directly follows incline number 1 and directly precedes incline number 2. That is, it follows the outline and it's the very start of your first draft. So for the false summit, you need your Chromebook, you need your SFL packet, specifically your outline from incline number 1. That's going to look a little something like this. Of course, yours will be handwritten. Other than that, you need your false summit directions. So you should have these both unstapled, separated so that you can see both of them at the same time. Those instructions start with phase 1, grub on dinner. All right, and then you also need your keyboard shortcuts document, guided notes, as well as a pencil or a pen. So go ahead and pause the video now and go and find those materials and meet me back here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive into phase 1, grub on dinner, aka save document. So for this step, we're going to open a Google Doc, select untitled document in the upper left-hand corner, type our last name and then the name of the prompt. So if you don't know how to open a Google Doc, you can go to your browser, search Google Docs, and then select just select Google Docs right there. You can click blank document. And this is our main screen where we're going to be typing. This is our upper left-hand corner where we're going to write our last name and then the name of the prompt. And after that, let's head back to our instructions. I believe that's all we need. Quick note, your document name will be different from the title of your paper. So go ahead and pause now, complete those steps, and meet me back here. Once you've completed those steps, you can check step 1 off of your list. Say yummy, yummy in my tummy. We're moving on. Dinner is completed. Moving on to phase 2 where we're setting up our tent. Okay. So we're not going to pause until we're done with step 4 here. So go ahead and track with me on this video. In your Google Doc, you're going to make sure your cursor is inside the document, and you're going to start off by clicking the tab key, and then you will start typing right here. Okay, now for the purpose of this video, I did make my own dummy document. Okay, I wrote a fake 5-paragraph essay, so I'm going to paste that all right here, and then I'm going to talk you through my spacing. Okay, so let's say if you see where I'm at, right? This is my introduction paragraph. Once you are finished typing your thesis statement, you need to add that end mark, click enter, click tab, and then start your first body paragraph right there. Okay, so this is my first body paragraph. Then you can go ahead and repeat those steps until you have typed out your entire essay. Now, I do want to make a really quick note. Sometimes, like what just happened, let's see if we can make that happen again. As soon as you click enter, it automatically might tab for you. If that is the case, just take a note. You don't need to click tab again. Why? Because that will throw off your indentations, okay? So all of your type need to be aligned on the left side here. And then there should really only be a single tab or a single indent for each and every paragraph. You also need to make sure that there's not any random additional space between each paragraph, okay? You need to have them back to back to back. All right, so that completes steps 1 through 4. Go ahead and pause this video, follow those steps, and meet me back here. And if you're meeting me back here, go ahead and pat yourself on the back. You're doing a great job. Cross off those steps. And we're moving on to step 5. We want to ensure that all spelling is correct by using your discretion and accepting spelling suggestions or words underlined in red or blue. Don't pause that video yet. I'm going to come over here to my little cheat sheet. Where am I? Okay, great. So we have 4 different typos that we're looking out for. First is our correctly detected typo. And I actually have an example of this in my example here. So I'm going to zoom in just for the purpose of this video. I'm going to bold my conclusion paragraph. And I'm going back. I'm looking at my correctly detected typo. So that's going to be the word this, right? So I know that this is spelled with one S. I just made a boo-boo, okay? I made an error, so I'm just going to go ahead and fix this. I'm either going to fix it myself by clicking backspace, or I'm going to hover my mouse over the word, and I'm going to select their spelling suggestion, and that will fix it just so. Our second type of typo is a correctly detected homophone error. So in this conclusion paragraph, I wrote this sentence. This is a 1-sentence summary. We're going to come back to summary of my third main point. However, I spelled mane as if it was a horse's mane, the hair on a horse. And that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is that this is a main or primary point, and that is spelled M-A-I-N. So I'm going to hover my mouse over main. I'm going to see the grammar suggestion, and I'm going to select their I'm going to accept their suggestion because it is indeed correct. Let's move on to number 3. We might sometimes find some incorrect suggestions, which is rather unfortunate. Okay, let's go ahead and look at my last sentence. It says, "This is my now what," where I challenge the audience with drop the mic moment. I'm going to come over here and see what it's suggesting for me to change. It wants me to say moments. However, as part of my now what, I don't want to have many drop the mic moments. I just want to have a single drop the mic moment. So it did correctly detect an error, but it incorrectly suggested an answer. Okay, so I went ahead and updated it to say A, and then it got rid of that blue squiggly line. Just be careful that you are critically engaging with all of Google's suggestions. Do not accept their suggestions at face value. Let's go ahead and move on to the gnarly undetected typo, okay? This is where I already read this sentence. It said, "This is a 1-sentence summary of my third main point." I don't want to say summer. I want to say summary. And so I'm going to go ahead and update it, even though Google did not catch my error. So at this point, I need you to go back through your essay and read it to yourself out loud, correcting any identified or unidentified errors. And just note that this is something your climbing buddy can help you with on the peer edit. They might be able to get a fresh set of eyes and find undetected errors or typos on your behalf. Really quick note, I want you to ignore subject-verb agreement errors in this step. That will come in the next phase on incline number 2. So technically this should say this is a 1-sentence summary, but if you have subject-verb agreement errors, you can just ignore them. Great, I'm going to unbold this, I'm going to zoom out, and at this point you can go ahead and pause this video and go ahead and ensure your own spelling is correct. I'm going to cross this off, and I'll meet you back here for step 6. Make sure you're crossing your step off as well. You also need to ensure spacing is correct. End marks and commas should directly follow the word, and there should be 1 space after each end mark and comma. So don't pause that video yet. I'm going to show you what I mean. Again, zooming in to this conclusion paragraph. I see a lot of this, guys, okay? So you have a statement, so I have my word statement, period, no space, and then I start the very next word. Similarly, would be this situation where you have one word, a comma, and another word directly following it, okay? There needs to be a space directly after that period and a space directly after that comma. On the flip side, sometimes I see a space here. That is also incorrect. I might see a space here, okay? So if you have a comma or a period, it needs to directly follow that very last word. So go ahead and pause this video, cross this item off your list when you're done, and meet me back here for step 7, where we're going to look at using apostrophes with possessives. Okay, so I have a little cheat sheet for us here as well. Just a little refresher for our lesson on possessives. My first question is, how do we identify a possessive noun? So possessive nouns show belonging. They show what belongs to whom. Actually, would be to who or whom. I'll let you figure that out. Give you some life school points if you get it correct. All right. So here we have an example. That was Quantrell's fault. Should actually say that was Quantrell's fault. Here we have another example. I like my mom cooking. Should actually say I like my mom's cooking. Here's our last one. Did you see the puppy nose? It was bleeding. Should actually say, did you see the puppy's nose? It was bleeding. Now, note that all of these require apostrophes. Let's go ahead and talk about how to determine which or where to place our apostrophes. So this should be a review. Step number 1, identify the owner. Step number 2, determine whether the owner is singular or plural. Step number 3, apply the formula. And then our formula for singular is apostrophe S. And our formula for plural is S apostrophe. So let's go ahead and do some examples here. Douglas did not like Master Hugh. The slave master hypocrisy tormented Douglas. So here we have hypocrisy. And hypocrisy belongs to who? The slave owner. Now, I said slave owner, I meant slave master. Who is my slave master? My slave master is Master Hugh. Now, is there one Master Hugh or are there many Master Hughs? The answer would be one. Therefore, since our owner is singular, we're going to apply the formula apostrophe S. Let's go ahead and reread it before moving on to our next example. Douglas did not like Master Hugh. The slave master's hypocrisy tormented Douglas. Let's go ahead and look at our next example. It says, Douglas did not like Master Hugh, Colonel Lloyd, or Master Covey. The slave master hypocrisy tormented Douglas. So here again, we have hypocrisy, and it belongs to who? It belongs to the slave master. However, my question for you is there one slave master or are there many slave masters? Now, in this case, there are many slave masters. That means our owner is plural. That means we're applying the formula S apostrophe, and then we are moving on. So go ahead and, I'm actually staying here. Go ahead and move back to your own document and double check that you used apostrophes with all of your possessives. You can pause that video, cross off step 7, meet me back here for step 8. We are over halfway through with setting up our tent. You guys are doing a great job. Let's go ahead and place articles, poems, essays, speeches, and short story titles in quotations and place longer works such as novels and manifestos in italics. Okay, I'm wondering if yes, I'm going to come back over here to my document. Okay, so this is my Google Doc, and I'm actually going to zoom in on that thesis statement. This is my thesis statement. Your thesis statement should include your text title spelled all the way out. Now, note during the outline phase, I do allow you to abbreviate here. I would allow you to say something like, the narrative life of Frederick Douglass for the sake of ease and saving your time. However, at this point, you do need to type it all the way out. The narrative life of Frederick Douglass, okay? Now, you need to italicize this. Go ahead and check your keyboard shortcuts, but you can click Control I to italicize this because it is a longer work. It is a book. All right, otherwise, if you were writing about a speech such as, what to the slave is the 4th of July, you actually would not put this in italics, you would put it in quotation marks instead. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video now and go back and make sure that every single time you mention the title of a work, it is either in italics or inside quotation marks. Then you can go ahead and cross off step number 8. Meet me back here for step number 9. You're going to go ahead and capitalize author names, title of works, proper nouns, and the first letter of each sentence. If you're thinking to yourself, I've already done this, I don't need to go back and check, then you would be wrong. You need to go back and double check that you capitalized all of your author names, titles of works, your proper nouns, and the first letter of each sentence. Once you have paused this video, gone back and double checked your work, then you may cross off step number 9 and we may begin step number 10. Step number 10, we're talking about MLA in-text citations. They should reflect the below. Don't pause that video yet. I do have another cheat sheet for us down here, okay? So I'm talking about a direct quote here. This is from page 101 of The Narrative Life of Frederick Douglass. The quote says, "My masters whipped me until the blood ran down my back." My signal phrase is here in chapter 8, the slave masters. And then I have my direct quote, whipped me until the blood ran down my back. And then I have my in-text citation. And inside that in-text citation is the last name of my author, as well as the page number. Now, I want to focus in on this usage of me and my. Okay, notice how they are underlined. I want you to think about incorporating texts within the greater context of your essay. Now, if you are the author, which you are, and you use a pronoun such as me or my, then what is the antecedent for that pronoun me or my? I'm going to pause and let you think about it. The antecedent would be your name. So if John Doe is the name of our 8th grade student, then what we're really saying here is whipped John Doe until the blood ran down John Doe's back. But that is simply incorrect. John Doe is an 8th grade student in today's day and age. He did not live back in the time of Frederick Douglass. Indeed, Frederick Douglass does not even know that John Doe exists. So instead, we need to replace this pronoun so that it makes sense in the greater context of our essay. We're going to say the slave masters whipped him, referring to Douglass, of course, until the blood ran down his back. Now, anytime we are changing a direct quote, we need to put that inside of brackets. You can ignore the underlines. I was just keeping that there to emphasize that I needed to change it. As long as the meaning stays the exact same, you are allowed to change words within a direct quotation. So this is our ideal direct quotation. Let's go ahead and head down to a second example. This is the same exact quote, a very similar signal phrase. However, in this case, our signal phrase includes the author's last name. Instead of saying in chapter 8, as we did in example 1, we're saying according to Douglass. Now, Douglass is the last name of our author, therefore we do not need to include Douglass inside of our in-text citation. Very good. Let's move on to our third example. In this case, again, same direct quote, but our signal phrase has our page number on page 101. Therefore, we need to exclude our page number from our in-text citation. Let's go ahead and move on to a paraphrase, okay? So this would be where you're not directly quoting, but you're rewording it. To say the same exact thing in your own words. Now, if you're paraphrasing, you still need to have an in-text citation with the author's last name and the page number. So here we have our signal phrase in chapter 8, and then we have our paraphrase, Douglass's masters whipped him so hard the blood soaked his back, and then we have our in-text citation. If you have a specific question relating to your own essay about this, feel free to raise your hand and wait until the instructor approaches. Otherwise, I believe that's all we have. Yes, let's go ahead and you may pause your video now, go back and double check all of your in-text citations, and meet me back here so that we can wrap up putting our tent up, take a step back, admire your handiwork. Well done. And we're going to go ahead and move on to phase 3, MLA formatting, that is spraying our bug spray to protect ourselves from the flesh-eating bugs. So let's go ahead. We're going to start at step 1. I want you to select Control A and change the font to Times New Roman and change the size to size 12. That is, I'm talking about the font size here. Okay, so we're back in my Google Doc, pressing down Control A. That selects all of my text. I'm coming up here, typing out 12, clicking enter, coming up here where my font types are. I'm going to click Times New Roman, and that's all I need to do in order to complete step 1. So go ahead and pause your video, follow suit, meet me back here for step 2. Again, you're going to select Control A, click on line and paragraph spacing, and select custom spacing. When the dialog box appears, you're going to update the box so that it reflects this box right here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that example. Here's our Control A. Here's our paragraph and line spacing. Custom spacing, I'm going to backspace, and then I'm going to type out 2.0. I'm going to make sure 0 is before, 0 is after. Then I'm going to click apply. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, meet me back here once you're done with step 2 and step 3 so that we can move on to, yep, you guessed it, step 4, where we will, in the upper right-hand corner, type the following. Our first and last name, teacher name, class name, date, month, year. Okay, so I'm going to come up here. I'm going to bring my cursor to the very top of my essay. I'm going to click enter. I'm going to click tab again because that first paragraph does need to be indented. I'm going to come back to the top left corner of my paper. And this is called a heading. Okay, so here's my student name, John Doe. Here's my teacher's name, Miss Al. Notice how I capitalized the M in Miss. I also added a period after the S, and I capitalized the A and L. And then I'm going to go ahead and spell out English Language Arts. And then I'm going to write my date, 14 May 2024. That is not today's date, but it's the dates that I made up for this video. So go ahead and pause this video, complete step 4, and cross it off once you have completed it. We're going to go ahead and start step 5. You can place your cursor to the right of the year as typed in the heading, and then click enter. And then select Control-Shift-E to type an appropriate academic title. So here, notice my cursor is to the right of my year. I'm going to click enter. I'm going to click Control-Shift-E. That's bringing me to my center. So here is an academic title. Notice how I'm capitalizing the first letter of these words. However, if I had something like the, I would not capitalize that T in the because it is 3 letters long. If a word is 4 letters long or more, you should capitalize it. Now, the only caveat would be if the very first word in your title was 3 letters long, then yes, you would want to capitalize it. If that was confusing to you, go ahead and rewind, listen to me explain that one more time. And if you still have questions, you can raise your hand or go ahead and write me a sticky note. Also wanted to make another quick note, something that I see that is quite common when students write their titles. They will come here and they will space and they will tab and they will space and they will tab until they reach the center. Do not do that. Follow the instructions. That would be Control-Shift-E, and that will bring your academic title to the dead center. All right, we're going to go ahead and cross this off our list once you are done. Go ahead and pause, make sure you're doing this correctly before we move on to step 6. Now, I believe we're doing steps 6 through 11 right in a row, so go ahead and stick with me until I tell you to pause. We're going to navigate to the top of the document. We're going to double click inside that document. You're going to see this pop up. It's going to say header, different first page options. We're going to click options. We're going to click page numbers. We're going to click apply. So now you're going to see this page number pop up. I'm going to click Control A. I'm going to make sure, this is a weird glitch that Google has for some reason. I still need to update this to size 12 in Times New Roman. And then similarly, I'm going to select Control Shift, I believe R. Yep, that's going to bring me right over to the right side, exactly where I need to be. And I'm going to write my last name. So this is my student's last name, and it's going to be capitalized, right? And that takes care of that. So go ahead and pause the video. That explained steps 6 through 11. I'm going to cross that off. Go ahead and meet me back here for step 12. Okay, so this is a very, very important step. What I need you to do is go ahead and find your sample essay. It should be in your False Summit packet. And I need you to compare your paper to the example. And if you find any errors, then go ahead and correct them now. And then you can go ahead and pause this video, go ahead and do that comparison. Meet me back here. We're cruising. Okay, good job. You have protected yourself successfully from the flesh-eating bugs. So go ahead, and now would be the time to find your climbing buddy and have him, you need to exchange your computers. You need to email your document. You need to print the file, staple it to the front, follow classroom procedures. You can go ahead and read through phase 4 on your own. Fill out this climbing buddy checklist. Make sure you're adding your signature here. And then I don't think we have anything more other than add a cute little ending here. Nighty night. Get some rest. You've got a big climb up ahead of you for incline number 2 tomorrow. See you later, guys. Good job. Keep up the good work.